one of my goals, the first one, is let's bring a lot of our government out of the 19th century. You keep reading, oh, we've got a good thing, let's don't change it. You know, this may sound good, but we're way behind in education. We're way behind in per capita income. In high school dropouts, we're 42nd in the nation preventing them. And so let's face up to the realities. I want to get more people involved, and I want to break the shackles of the lobby group that have controlled this state for too long. You know what our problem is? We've had too much political inbreeding, and when you have it, you have the weak, ineffective government that's not responsive to people. That's our problem.
We have discussed this piece of material before. There are actually two pieces of material. One that I have picked up in Grand Prairie and Irving, which has a copy of an ad from Incipia Dallas magazine. And then it reproduces this ad and says, what has the judge told you? And it is signed by the Committee for Truth in Government, one J.R. Hurt, chairman. A piece of material taking that flyer was received in my campaign headquarters this morning with some very scurrilous material attached to it, and it's this message that I don't care to read to you, but which was also attached to the same material sent out by Mr. Hurt.
Having read this, I can say that the message is of a racial nature. Now, do you claim that the Collins campaign people have been putting this out?
No, I don't. I don't know who it is. I don't know who this committee is in the first place. I don't know Mr. Hurt. I don't know who put out the second piece of material. And it certainly isn't in my favor, and it is racist. And these are the only things that I have to say about it.
Mr. Collins?
You know, the last day of the campaign is typical in elections that you find all kind of wild charges. I made it a practice in this campaign to never say a word against my opponent, either in the radio, television, or on the newspaper, and to get up to the last day, but when you get charges, it's better to clear them all up. He's got one here, and I want to tell him, I noticed that the only place he received it was in his campaign headquarters.
No, that's not true.
Well, that was what you said.
I said we also found it other places.
Well, would you name some of those specifically? Because I have one of them that was received, and I have the name of the man that received it. I mean, let's go ahead and be specific. Where'd you receive it?
If you have one from somebody who received it.
No, I don't have it. I've never received this. This one, I'll tell you where I got this. I got this over there at a television station. You brought it over and showed it to them. And I looked at it and I said, this is obviously a photostat copy because it's never gone through the mail. Now, where did they get a live copy of this?
I don't know where it came from, and I don't know where the live copy came from. But I do know it's been distributed, and I do know it's racist in nature.
It is racist. But the only thing you know is one supposedly came to your campaign headquarters. Now, let me give you one. What they're doing, the opposition, in the last days of the campaign is making a very strong play for the Negro vote. And I do this specifically. You did send this one out, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Now, the man that received this is the Reverend David E. Bishop, who lives at 215 South Marsalis. He brought this to my office about an hour and a half ago, and he said, I received this. He said, I live in box number 440. The reason I know it's racist is because the precincts that are listed down here have 1/3 or more Negroes in them, and obviously it was a control-directed mailing, and it asked for support for Judge Hughes, and it says, vote for Zan Holmes and all Democrats, and tells them where to vote. And of course, Zan Holmes is highly respected by all of the Negroes, and you're trying to get them to vote.
There's nothing racist about that piece of material, I'll tell you for sure.
Well, the words up here, a Democrat who believes in justice and equality for all,
yes,
is to stress an appeal to the Negroes.
It's an appeal to the voter, all the voters.
And the picture that is used here was the same picture that's used in this other one, which shows you with two of the leading Negroes in town.
That's right.
Zan Holmes and Dr. Conrad.
That's right.
And you sent it only to the Negro boxes. Why did you send it only to the Negro boxes?
Because I think that the Negro voter here and the Negro community understands and values the endorsement of Dr. Conrad, who they think very highly of. And I'm proud of that piece of material. It's all right, not racist.
I think the main thing I'm talking about is his record, that he has no legislation whatsoever in his record for the good of the people. Last January, when Senator Mawsey, Senator Harris, asked for an investigation in the Liquor Control Board, and you know, it was the people of Dallas brought the whole mess out in the open anyway, he said it'd be a waste of money. When Governor Connolly mentioned about Ben Barnes, when Ben Barnes said we should do it in February, and again, Preston Smith said no, he refused it. Governor Connolly said he was derelict of his duty not to do it. So I think this points up to it when a rotten mess like that is on hand down there and nothing's done about it.
Well, I haven't paid any attention to the criticism that my opponent has thrown at me because I don't campaign in that manner. I campaign on my own qualifications and record and not on the demerits of an opponent. I can't see that this would better qualify me. Insofar as being part of the establishment is concerned, I am proud to have been a part of the constructive progress we've made in the programs of education, welfare, good roads, and other tourism and things like this, and other programs that are good for the people of this state.
Well, he's had 1 year of experience 18 times. He's been a movie operator. I have an attorney background, legal background. 70% of the governors since 1876 have had this kind of experience.
He has no experience that I know of in public office, but if I've discussed it, it's been at a minimum only when people ask me about it.
I think if Mr. Nixon runs very strong in the state, it's going to help me. I'm going to have some coattail effect.
I don't think it affects it at all. I've said all along that the people of this state are intelligent enough and they're familiar with the voting processes enough whereby they can determine in their own minds who they think will do the best job, whether the candidate is a national candidate or a state candidate.
With something close to 600,000 voters descending on the polls in Dallas and Tarrant counties tomorrow, you can't blame election officials for having a little bit of the pre-election jitters. Dallas County Clerk Tom Ellis is a little more concerned than Fort Worth's Red Cowan because of the 112 precincts which are using the punch card devices for the first time. As both counties made their last-minute ballot and machine deliveries, the Dallas Republicans made an unexpected adjustment. Teal Salon covered their activities.
The absentee ballots, and we understand the county clerk started doing this as of 10 o'clock this morning, and the judges could pick up their absentee ballots, and of course there is no way of determining what happens to them after he picks them up, because he will have them in his sole possession overnight, presumably at his home. One of the things that concerns us about this procedure is that almost all of the election judges are Democrats.
Ballots will be sealed when the election judge receives them, and when he takes them to the poll, representatives of the Republican Party will be there. He will have a certain number to account for, and they will have to be sealed at that time. I can't see much possibility that even a dishonest election official could have an opportunity to change them. And I've always felt in Dallas County that we're fortunate to have honest people working in our polling places for both parties. The code's far from perfect, and some of the punch card type machines that are going to be used in some precincts. I think we'll have a case where a man might, if he were so inclined, have an opportunity to do something with the ballots between the polling place and the counting house.
There you have it. That's both sides the day before the polls open at 7 a.m. in the morning. Here at the County Records Building, Carl Mayo reporting for Channel 8 News.
it does not settle the Dog Willis question, because for one thing I would like to leave with you see, they did not find the weapon on the man until he got to the hospital. The investigation should have found the weapon on the man at the spot where he was killed. And this is a question that's running through many people's mind, and this is why they suspect something under the table from the police.
Mr. Gaskin, I'm going to have to interrupt you at this point.
Two groups, one of which, supported by the federal government, openly, specifically, and publicly accused Officer Cockrell of murder after the officer had been no bail by the grand jury. We vigorously object to the fact that an officer had been put on public trial without just cause and has been forced to endure nothing but malicious libel per se. We would like to further inform the council that the Fort Worth Police Buddies have formally requested from federal congressional representatives a full investigation into the use of federal funds to sponsor a group which has actively and openly displayed complete disrespect for law and order.